Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm Lauren Macar. Last month, or at the beginning of September at least, I did some thinking and I realized that I wanted to have more direction in my reading. And to do that, I gave myself a couple of prompts and made a TBR for September. So I had a list of books. There were 5, 6, don't know how many books that I could pick and choose from for the month of September. And today I want to reflect on that and decide what I'm going to do, if I'm going to do that again for October, and how I'm going to do that for October. So the prompts that I had were mostly about reading more for my Around the World project, reading more diversely, reading more French, and having a bit of nonfiction. And the positives were, I had two positives. First, it was kind of liberating to have a stack of books that I knew I was going to choose from for that month, because every time that I think about the books that I want to read, I think about, want to read this, oh I really want to read that, oh I should still read this, oh I've got that on my stack, oh I really want to read this. And I'm not going to say that's stressful, but you know, my head just goes and now whenever that started to happen, I could just stop the brain going and say, you already know what you're going to read this month. Think about this for the next month, whenever that is. And that was really liberating. It stopped a lot of my brain just going off and not really going anywhere. So that was really good. I also really liked that I got to read more for my Around the World in 80 Books project. I ended up finishing 4 books. 2 that I had picked from my TBR and 2 that I listened to, and I'll talk about the whole what books I read in my wrap up later on this week. But that was really good. I felt like I was doing more of the things I wanted. However, there were also things that I came across that I hadn't expected. First of all, now the books that I chose fitted the prompts that I had, but I also have books on my physical TBR that don't fit any of the prompts. And whilst that isn't a problem because the TBR that I'd chosen was small enough that I knew I was going to get to other books, it still felt somehow as if I was judging those other books and saying, you're not as good as the ones that I chose for my TBR. And also, what I found is that although I knew I was easily going to finish reading the books in the amount of time I'd given myself, I was stressed that was not going to happen. So it meant that 2 weeks before the end of September, I still only had 1 of those 5 books to read, and I was still somehow worried that I was not going to be able to do that, which is ridiculous because I know I can read. I usually read about 10 books a month right now, so a stack of 5 is not a problem. And also whilst reading those 5, I also finished reading to 2 audiobooks, and those somehow also didn't count in my head as, but you're doing fine. So I don't know what to do about that going forward, because telling myself stop worrying about this and just looking at the numbers didn't work. But on the other hand, maybe it's something I need to get used to. And then there's another big change that's coming up, and that means that now I can rely on the numbers. I was able to rely on the numbers, say, hey, if you pick this many books, then you'll be fine. You shouldn't stress about this and this, and then telling myself not to stress, or realizing I do stress. But my life is about to change a little bit because I am going to start my grown-up big girl job, and I'm going to go from the last month just not having much to do to having a job for 36 hours of the week. And I do think, but this is just a guess, that is going to impact how much I read. And that's not a bad thing, but that does mean that I don't know how much I'm going to be reading now. And that means that I also don't know how to start my TBR, because I think the positives, I appreciate the positives so much that I think I do also want for the next a month at least to also have a stack of books that I want to pick and choose from. And I was playing with the idea of maybe not telling myself this is my TBR for October, but just saying, well, these are the next 5 books that I'm going to read. And maybe I should do that, but somehow, because a month has a deadline, it feels, I don't know what it is about that kind of stops me. Maybe it's because I don't know when I'll have finished those 5 books, and maybe it's because I don't know also. Then I'll give myself prompts to choose those books, and I'm afraid that then I won't also choose books just for fun, or maybe that should also be a prompt. And also because there are some books you want to read in a certain month because they are for a buddy read, or that they're for a book club or something, or a read along. So yeah. And I should just cut myself some slack because I have no idea how October is going to be. So I thought now I just pick a couple of books, go with the prompts that I had set myself for September, but not the quantity. So for example, I wanted to read 2 books set in another country, and now that's just going to be 1. And I'm still gonna mix and match the prompts. And I'm gonna see it as a way also to practice telling myself it's okay if you don't finish these books. It's okay, you probably will finish these books. And I also want to somehow also think about the fact that I listen to audiobooks. I've been listening to audiobooks a lot more the last weeks because of my concussion, and I noticed now how delightful it was also to have this TBR for my physical books, because I knew what I was going to read afterwards. And now with the audiobooks, I missed that. And I was just, especially last week, because I was very restless due to the lying around all the time and not being allowed to do stuff. I was just looking through the audiobooks that I can listen to on Scribd. It was like, yeah, this would be fine, yeah, this would be fine, then just listening for 5 minutes and then not liking it, and that never happened to me before. So I think I'm going to also take that into account in my Scribd audiobook listening to. And then we'll see at the end of October what my reading has been like. So, as for audiobooks, I'm currently still listening to a book that I think I'll finish before the end of September, so you'll hear about that next time. And the first audiobook that I want to listen to this afterwards is also going to be part of the I want to reread more books, and that is going to be The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follet. Follet? I knew this. I think it's Follet. I've got the first one in French, and the second one I have in English, and these are fatty, and I've read these a long time ago, and I really like them. They are historical fiction in the year 1300. But because they're big, I haven't really been drawn to reading them again. But I have had the 3rd book on my TBR. No, my book's crashed. I've had the 3rd book on my TBR for a while, but I want to reread the other 2. So audiobooking the first one is, I think, going to be ideal. Also, can we just talk about the fact that these don't match? I mean, I'm happy they've got the same height. Shit, they don't have the same height. Okay. So that's going to be 1, Pillars of the Earth audiobook. Yeah, and then I also, one of the books I've really been looking forward to reading, this is the part where I didn't think about, but I think I really want to, I'm gonna stand up. I really want to read this one. It's The Wizard of the Crow by, how is his name not on the front? Here. Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o. And this is set in Kenya, so it counts for around the world and an author of color. And I've really been looking forward to this. It's a fatty. Now, fatties might not be, well, I think I want to consciously read at least 1 big book, because I really like big books, but somehow they feel as if, because I'm reading 1 big book, I don't read smaller books. Anyway, so I'm going to read this one, and I think also that will help with telling myself it's okay if you don't read all of the books on your TBR because you've got a fatty. So it's okay if you feel like you don't reading a lot because you've got this wonderful fatty. Fatty is a positive, by the way. I mean, big books aren't unhealthy, so yeah, looking forward to this. So that's going to be on my TBR, and then I also still want a French book, a small French book. I think I want to read this one, or at least I'll pick this one. It's really tiny. It's Nos vies désaccordées by Gaelle Josse, Our Unaccorded Lives. It's tiny and it's about music, and I think that built a great break also with listening to, well, also with reading The Wizard of the Crow, that is bigger, so that will be nice. The book club pick for my physical book club in Delft is, let me check, Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton, and then I still need a second audiobook so that I know what I'm going to read after this. And I think I'm going to read Run Me to Earth by Paul Yoon. I remember adding this just last week. I think it was kind of historical fiction. Yeah, it's in 1960s Laos and 3 kids that are orphaned. So I think that's going to be really good as well. So I've picked 3 physical books. Hollow Kingdom I have on my phone, and 2 audiobooks. And yes, I now have to tell myself, don't try to pick something else. No, wait, I am going to pick something else. I am going to pick Bunny as well. Because I think it's going to be something different, and that might be nice this month to have something that is going to be a bit different than the somewhat heavier historical fiction set in other countries. So what I now have are 3 physical books. I have The Wizard of the Crow, Nos vies désengagées, and Bunny, and then I have Hollow Kingdom that I'm going to read on my phone, and 2 audiobooks. And I think that's a small enough number to start the month. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to tell myself that it's okay and keep practicing. I really dislike that I have this stress around thinking I don't read enough. That's one of the reasons I do keep track of, and I tell myself, and I usually know how many books I've read in a year or until now, because up until not that long ago, I didn't really see myself as a bookworm, and that's ridiculous. So this is going to be good practice. And if it's too stressful, and if it doesn't work out, then that's fine as well. Also, anyway, I should really stop rambling now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.